into the online broadcast network, AfterBuzz TV. Over 20 million weekly downloads in over 150 countries, and your number one source for after-show entertainment. AfterBuzz TV, the destination for TV superfans, producing aftershows for over 300 of your favorite TV shows, interviewing celebrities and showrunners, and bringing you behind-the-scenes exclusives. All thanks to E! Entertainment's Maria Menounos, producer Kevin Undergaro, and internet leader Akamai. Now, let the buzz begin!
Hey there, Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. fans.
It's not warm when she's away.
Welcome to another episode of the AfterBuzz TV Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. After Show.
We've got the karaoke version up there.
Anytime she goes away.
Although specifically when she went away, there was sun.
Yeah,
it
doesn't count.
Yeah, no, it's a little bit of a misconception.
It's a backwards planet.
God.
Things are weird over there.
God, Bill Withers is so off on this song.
Yeah, I mean,
Really.
That's what happens when you don't read your memos.
Yeah.
That's what happens. But tonight, guys, we are talking to you about Season 3, Episode 5, 4,722 hours, and if you guys can't tell, we are feeling a little down.
Feeling a lot of things.
I don't know that I'm down necessarily. I have very mixed emotions right now.
How about emotional? Is that a better term
definitely
for it?
Emotional.
Again, and I said this about the episode last week, I'm super satisfied with the information that we got, with the scenes that we got. I mean, Elizabeth Henstridge was amazing.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, she was phenomenal in tonight's episode.
This was such a good episode.
Well,
I'm overall very happy.
Let me introduce my fantastic panel. Joining me tonight, Jesse Klein.
Hi, everyone. You can find me on Twitter at JessKlein1. That's JessKlein, the number 1.
Zach Wilson.
Hey guys, tweet at me throughout the week, throughout the show at that Zach Wilson. That's Zach with a CH, and I'm keeping an eye on the chat roll if you're joining us live.
Joyce Ajouri.
Cool. Hey guys, you can find me on Twitter at Ajouri. It's down there on the 3rd.
And you guys can tweet at me at the Menguin. That's TheMenguin. I'm your host, Megan Salinas. And throughout the show, not only will we be keeping an eye on the live chat, we will also be keeping an eye on the hashtag on Twitter, ABTVShield, as we do every week. So we want to know what you guys thought of tonight's episode. Are you on board with some of the things they did in tonight's episode, or are you thoroughly against it? We want to hear your guys' thoughts and opinions. Let's go ahead and get right into it. Just initial thoughts on tonight's episode, because it was a very different episode of Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. It's very rare where we stick with one character and stick with one storyline, because they've gotten so used to jamming so many different storylines into every single episode that it's kind of weird to just kind of sit and be in one place for the entire 40 minutes.
I mean, rare. This was a 100% unique episode of S.H.I.E.L.D. And not just because we're on a different planet, but because stylistically this is completely different from anything they've ever done.
Yeah, I thought it was a really satisfying episode. I really enjoyed it. I thought the pacing was perfect. I never felt bored with seeing the survival aspects of Simmons, which I think is a kind of danger that you can do with this type of episode. And I always felt like they were building to something, and it didn't feel like a bottle episode. Things that happened in this episode will affect the rest of the season and the rest of the show.
And this is probably one of the biggest events ever to happen in S.H.I.E.L.D. And to have an episode completely dedicated to finding out what happened was totally necessary, totally fitting, and like we said before, super satisfying. I'm so happy with it.
Yeah, I'm blown away, because this episode was intense, it was very moving, but at the same time very, very well paced too.
Yeah.
It's so easy for anything to kind of slip into Castaway territory, where it's good, but you're kind of checking your watch going, okay, when is he getting off the island yet? But this was compelling the entire time that we were with her and her companion in this episode. So I'm thoroughly pleased as well. The only thing I'm mad about is that I don't immediately have the next episode to watch.
That's 2 episodes in a row. They really left us on a cliffhanger.
Pretty much.
I mean, I wouldn't necessarily call that a cliffhanger. Like,
I mean,
I actually not. This isn't. I'm not saying that I disliked this episode. Before I say this, in any way, but I did find it somewhat predictable outside of it.
Yeah.
I figured from like the get-go, as soon as we introduced a person, this is what was going to happen.
Yeah, or we immediately learn that he's the reason that she wants to go back.
Yeah, as soon as he's introduced,
like,
I think I even said to Megan, I'm like, this is going to happen. I thought at the time, like, I'll be super unhappy about it. I'm okay with it. We'll get more into like my feelings at the end.
I will say that wasn't initially where I went, because for me this was a guy who walked around with a machete, and I've seen enough horror movies to learn to fear this man. Men with machetes are meant to be feared, but yeah, all in all, again, very satisfying. Let's talk about. I hate to go through like the episode like chronologically, but because this is such a different episode, I feel like that's kind of how we have to break it down.
Yeah, otherwise we'll just be talking in circles for the next 45 minutes.
We will be like somebody lost on the planet, just walking around no-fly zones.
Yeah, how weird that she has to go back to the planet and there's a smoke monster there.
Well, actually, that's not where my mind went. It looks like a smoke monster at first, but when towards the end of the episode, not to jump ahead, but I was like, the impossible astronaut?
Yeah, it was sort of a mashup
or Silence in the Library.
Oh yeah, who turned out the lights? For those of you who watch Doctor Who, you know what we're talking about. If you don't, go. Well, don't watch that episode. It was bad, but
what if the Man in Black storyline from Lost got smashed into the impossible astronaut storyline on an alternate planet,
which is so funny as a complete side note. But we actually had the Man in Black on S.H.I.E.L.D. for a very brief time. He's Agent Blake. But the last time we saw him, he got like stomped on and then sent to a hospital. By Deathlock. Deathlock stomped on him, and he had to go to a hospital. And we haven't seen him since. So the Man in Black is in S.H.I.E.L.D. So hashtag it's all connected. Anyway, let's talk about this opening scene. Just seeing her get stranded and being very level-headed at first, and being, convinced that Fitz would be coming after her, and that the best thing to do would be, as a scientist, to catalog everything. Was this kind of where you guys expected her to be when she first got stranded?
I mean, I like that as soon as she gets stranded, her first thing is like, okay, time to do science. Like, that was her first initial reaction. My big thing is I wish they'd done the cell phone explanation on the top, because the entire time I was like, how does she have enough battery life? Like, I wish
my phone doesn't last for a day with all of the Twitter and stuff
I sort of just assumed like it's a S.H.I.E.L.D. megaphone.
As did I, but like I just kind of wished that there was like, if she could have been like, thank you, Fitz, for giving me this great
this super phone that with the extended battery life that won't go bad for months and months as long as I use it conservatively.
Because I found that a little distracting, or like every time I'd see her like on the phone, I was like, it's been
she
weeks.
needed someone to ask her that question before.
She could have said it to herself.
It didn't bother me, just because S.H.I.E.L.D. has so much other absurd tech. I'm like, they could have a battery.
It's very easily explained. But I also, I kind of I would expect her to go in the mode that she did right when she, got there. But I also thought it was interesting that, her other immediate thought was that Fitz was going to help her. And I know that he always has, and he always has come through, and they're best friends, and they're connected and all that stuff. But, I mean, poor guy. There's so much pressure put on him already. And she's just like, all right, he's going to help me. But she did the best that she could to help herself.
Well, and she was following S.H.I.E.L.D. protocol.
True.
Protocol is to sit and wait for extraction. Like, she's like, she's relying on Fitz, but that's what she's supposed to do in an emergency situation. So, like, she's also kind of falling back on, like, routine and standard operating procedure, and, like, this is what we do when things go wrong. And as long as we stick to that, I'll be fine.
Yeah. I also, I don't know about you guys, this is a general overall thing, but the blue filter never bothered me.
No.
Like I was worried that like that blue filter over the entire episode was going to bother me, but it never really affected my enjoyment of the show.
Because we felt that the entire time. I mean, the mood was set from the beginning, and it wasn't jarring to come into that, and it wasn't jarring to go out of it either when they were underground.
Yeah, it was, to me, it was the perfect simple way to make this an alien world.
Yeah,
like clearly they just went out and shot this in the desert.
It would have looked like early Star Trek if they just left it without the blue filter.
It would have looked like Dune or Tatooine.
The blue filter
Kirk
really
is fighting in the Vasquez Rocks. Like, there's a trailer.
Yeah, the blue filter really made this feel like an alien world.
Yeah.
Like more than anything else they did, it felt like we were not. You can look up in the sky and see like multiple like another planet, and it's like that's alien. But like Tatooine, to use Star Wars, like Tatooine is another world, but it still felt familiar.
It still felt like a normal desert.
This was uncomfortable. Like we didn't understand how to feel about where she was. It was just a totally uncomfortable place to be.
Well, and I think part of that was the way that they shot the desert was that, everywhere that she looked, there was never a good look at the horizon. Even when she's looking out at the, at the planets and the sky and everything like that, we never, and even when she's at the top of a ridge, we never get like a real good look at the planet that she's on up until they're at that giant chasm. So and because of that, because they're shooting everything very close and you're not seeing a whole lot, that makes it uncomfortable, that makes it very claustrophobic, even though she's in a great wide open world.
I definitely agree.
That's a good point.
I really like the survival stuff. It wasn't 100% accurate. Like, if you think you need 100 days without water, don't wait 80 days to get water.
It was 100 hours.
Or 100 hours.
I was gonna say.
If you think
we here at AfterBuzz are not responsible for your survival.
Days. I didn't mean days. I meant hours. If you think you need 100 hours.
Hydrate.
If you need 100 hours for water, don't wait 80 hours to find water. I would say probably.
She was looking the whole time.
No, she was waiting around.
But the thing
is, then waited 80 hours, and then she was like, "All right, I gotta leave and go look for water."
I will say I hear what you're saying with that, but I do want to talk a little bit about dialogue in this episode, because dialogue-wise, this is something very, very difficult, because you want to have, the character convey information. You want to see what they're feeling and how they're going through. But for the longest time, without somebody to talk to, she only has her phone to like bounce ideas off of, and you kind of at the same time slowly see her deteriorate in terms of like what she's talking about to keep her mind off the horrible situation that she's in. I really appreciated that, because dialogue in a situation like this is very, very difficult.
I mean, it's very difficult, and just the acting of it. This was Elizabeth Henstrad's Castaway.
Yeah, she killed it
very much, and she did. Yeah, she brought everything to the table. Yeah, because
amazing.
The dialogue was well written in that, like, to me, she was talking to herself out of scientific necessity. Like, she knew, I have to keep talking. It doesn't matter if there's a person. If I'm talking to anyone, to just a fake Fitz, to myself out loud, it just helps keep the mind focused and on track. And she knows that, and she goes with it. And latching on to Fitz specifically was just like a device for her. Like it was also very emotional,
for sure.
But it also, you could see the thinking behind her, thinking behind doing it,
and it also gave her performance like some melancholy as well as like desperation and like a search for survival.
Desperate. Like
I think the melancholy really added to that performance, which you don't really see in these survival shows. Like usually it's like, okay, gotta keep myself going, that kind of thing. But then adding that emotional aspect to it really made it a much larger and deeper performance.
And in many ways, you would say like the idea of her talking to Fitz, like through that photo on the phone, kind of kept her going, throughout the planet and everything, until she found Will, who, brought the realness back.
Good night, Will. That bit. I will say I also really admire the timing in delivery for all of this, not just with her performance, because we've got a lot of people in the hashtag saying that she just absolutely killed it, which she did.
Yeah.
But I also really appreciated a lot of the delivery because it's both melancholy, but at the same time there are moments of levity because she's also trying to keep herself in good spirits and keep herself very hopeful. And one thing I laughed and then I would feel bad because she'd be talking about like, should I wear a dress or would that be weird? And then she'd trip and fall, and it's like we have this moment of levity and then you're right back down on the ground. And it was the same when she was waiting for the sun to come up, and she's like, it'll come up any second now, and then like 3 days go by and she's like, where's the sun? What have you done with it? And you laugh and then you feel terrible because she just breaks down and weeps. I felt awful.
I mean, it became, for her as a scientist, like the sun not being there for 3 days has massive implications to what is happening to her. And I think she latched on to that one thing. Is like, okay, if I can find the sun, I'll be okay.
At least there's something I can recognize in this place.
There's nothing. There's an unfamiliar moon, an unfamiliar planet.
You can figure out which way is north, south, west. You can figure out some semblance of direction.
I mean, that's if
you can figure out which way the sun is rotating.
You can just figuring out what time of day just figuring out that a day has passed, like. As we see with Will, day. Like, he has no idea how long he's been there because there's no such thing as day.
Oh, God.
I mean,
Can't imagine.
Once every 18 years.
Yeah, I mean, they've...
she also says that they're on the pole. So, like, if they had
I guess
traveled...
that's like being in Alaska during, like, 90 days of night.
Yeah.
It's just they're lost without their normal sleep patterns because you see that a lot in, like, they do a lot of sleep studies and things like that, or like submarines or space exploration. Like, there's no set days, so usually you have to have something programmed to set you at 9 hours of darkness and the rest of the day in light, just so that your body keeps a rhythm, because if you don't have that will quickly drive you insane.
I shot a lot of comedy videos up in Alaska, and we would be out until like 4 a.m. shooting videos, and it would be as bright as it was at 12 in the afternoon.
No thanks.
And it was so weird because we'd be working, and then we'd be like, what time is it? And it's 2:30 a.m. and it would be as bright as it is at like noon. It was crazy.
That's crazy.
And it was actually, Andrew pointed it out in the previous episode, that, one of the things that the Chilean miners did was give themselves routines.
Yeah. And,
without that kind of routine in this type of situation, it's very, very easy to lose yourself and lose track of everything. So, yeah. And I do want to talk about, like, Gemma kind of, like, having to fight for survival before meeting anybody. Because she finally finds a source of water, and there's this horrifying plant monster that we don't really get to see, but it has tentacles. And, like, that, again, it was a very smart way of going about doing it, because that's easier on the prop and effects department. But at the same time, like, a monster that you can't see is so much more terrifying than anything you do.
And it fooled me, too, because last week in the previews, in previous episodes this season, we heard them say, there was no fauna, only flora. So when we saw the preview last week of this episode, and I saw her getting dragged into the water, and I was like,
well, there's clearly fauna. An animal.
There's an animal. It's got to be some sort of creature, but it was clever for them to trick us that way and show us that it's actually something that evolved, like a plant that evolved on this planet to survive that way.
To trap anything that needs water.
Literally man-eating plant.
Yeah.
It's horrible.
Yeah, some people were asking a little bit ago in the chat roll, how did she know that the water was safe to drink? The answer is she didn't. She just had no other option. At that point, she's basically reached a point where either this is going to save my life or kill me. There's no other.
There gets a point in a survival situation where it's like you can't wait any longer. You need water, and even if it's tainted water is better than no water at a certain point.
That's tough too, because I imagine your immune system is already lowering at that point. So like to risk it like that, clearly she was desperate.
Yeah.
And even people lost out at sea, like, they know that ocean water is only going to make their situation worse. That doesn't make wanting to drink that water, like,
Yeah.
any less desirable.
Yeah, I mean that could have had any space parasites. Like
Yeah, no, this could have
anything
easily
in it.
killed her.
Yeah, like I was like, how does she even know it's water? Like it didn't, like, with that blue filter going on.
I
how
was
do you
like,
know
is it a
it's water?
mirage?
Yeah,
It
It
could.
certainly looked muddy and
Yeah.
gross.
What
that's
if?
for sure.
What if the plant thing is a parasite on a living planet?
Oh, are you talking about Ego, the living planet?
That's what I was hinting at.
Yeah.
Yes.
For
You
those-
guys, I wish that there was a way that you guys could watch our reaction videos to Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. because when we got to a certain point, these two were looking at each other going, it's the thing. It's the living planet.
I'm like, there's a mutant planet.
I'm
There's
like,
a
what are you
red
talking
planet,
about?
isn't there?
it's a weird thing in comic books in general, because in the DC universe there are also some living planets.
Yeah, there are Green Lantern Corps members
and
that
Red
are living
Lantern Corps.
planets.
Yeah, and in the Marvel world, there's Ego, the living planet, which mostly deals with Thor and Beta Ray Bill. It has a clear face on it, like
Well, hey, we don't know what was in the no-fly zone.
Exactly. We don't.
The man on the moon.
Because he says it's alive, whether the planet, and I talked about this on Twitter with some people, but maybe it's the character of death. Like, the concept of death is a physical manifestation in the Marvel world.
Mm-hmm.
It's who Thanos wants to
Court.
be with and court. And like that looked a lot like when it was a cloaked figure like that.
Yeah,
it
I was
looked a
thinking the
lot
same
like
thing.
the comic version of Death, or at least one of the many versions. Also, she has on again, off again relationship with Deadpool, but they can never be
Yeah.
together because Deadpool can't die.
Can't, no.
And so- it's a really sad story.
Tragic love story
Yeah.
of all.
I was thinking that it was a manifestation of death as well. Like,
Yeah.
I thought of the Infinity Gauntlet immediately, but also when in previous podcasts for this show in this season, I think the question was asked that, was she on the same planet as Thanos? But then as we, quickly
Yeah.
learned that it's quite an empty planet, but it was still a cool possibility, or a thought anyway.
And I mean, death is universal, so she
Yeah,
could be anywhere. Yeah, and like, if this is a planet that I don't think they're going to have like big universal kind of things, but I think it might be a nod to comic book fans who know that death is a character in the Marvel universe.
Well,
I actually feel like... Oh, go ahead.
Yeah.
I was just gonna say, I feel like we're going to find out in
What that was.
S.H.I.E.L.D.
Yeah.
what that was. They set it up as too big a mystery, and this show is too good about paying off. Like, I trust Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. to pay off anything like that they're going to
yeah.
set up.
What I'm saying is they might have already told us. It could just be death.
Yeah,
And that's it.
I disagree with that. Not to get into predictions,
Yeah.
but I disagree that this is a manifestation of death, because I feel like they know that's what they're projecting. And when they show a figure like that, and when it's constantly referred to as death, of course that's what everybody, because everybody after seeing the Avengers went to Google, who already didn't know who Thanos was, went to Google to pretend like they knew who Thanos was. Because I'll be honest, I didn't know who he was. But so everybody went to Google and found out about this whole thing with death, and then all of a sudden that last line makes sense. So everybody who's watching Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. probably knows that, at least to some extent, or has had their annoying nerdy friend explain it to them. So I feel like it's kind of meant to be misleading. I feel like it's meant to be like, hey guys, look, death, that lady Thanos has a thing for. But then actually ends up being something a little bit more in line with what we're used to seeing on Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. It could very well be something else completely.
Yeah.
Do you guys have something you want to share with the class?
I have to shout this out.
Please do.
It's all right.
I have a counter to that.
I'm just
Go ahead,
just
go
listen
ahead.
to my reaction and prepare yourself, because TJ Ford, I gotta give you credit. This just made me crack up. Where'd it go?
I think it's up. Right there.
Yeah, TJ Ford says, "I'm a girl and I'd be super pissed, stranded with no pads."
And here's what I have to say, okay? It's different on different planet, I'm sure of it.
I like
Different lunar cycle.
Different, maybe, I mean,
it's
they're
different moons.
Different moons, gravity's different, your timing is off, your body's... Yeah, that's all I'm going to say.
I mean,
Well played, TJ. Well played.
if you're under like extreme physical circumstances, like if you're exercising very heavily, and actually, FYI for those of you who I'm sure are not asking for it, but your body actually does change when you go through severe physical like training, and so she might not have needed any. Like that's a fact of biology, you know, just being that survival situation.
Yeah.
She might have had to do so much physical prowess,
Stress
that-
and strain.
yeah, she might not have even needed it.
Even
Well,
even a simple flight to another city might affect it.
I was thinking about getting a little bit further, but Will and Simmons, if they had a very physical relationship about pregnancy, and about that being a worry for them,
Yeah.
and that might go into spoilers.
Like Simmons might be
or
pregnant
not,
right
not
now.
spoilers, but predictions. Yeah,
Yeah.
that Simmons might be pregnant.
All right, well,
Yeah, there were some people saying like hashtag Simmons is preggers.
Yeah, I think she might be.
I mean, it's entirely possible.
I
We
was
don't know.
thinking that's why she freaked out at the wine.
No, she said it tasted like vinegar.
It
No,
tasted
no, the
like
wine that Fitz pours for her.
Well,
No, 'cause
no,
I think it
I
reminded
think it just
her.
reminded her
Yeah.
of the dude
Okay.
she left
Yeah.
behind.
Yeah, I think that's because like now we see this like light
Yeah.
talking about
Although,
wine and what she wanted and what
If
she wanted
she
to do
is
with
pregnant,
him.
then it's a good thing she spit out the vinegar wine and didn't drink the other type
Sure.
of wine. So who knows? We don't know. But anyway, we keep,
Even if she is, she's only at this point 2-3 months at most, at absolute maximum
Yeah.
along.
That'd
But-
be fine.
But let's, okay, yeah, we
Especially
keep
if you're in
dancing around it.
France.
Let's talk about Will.
Yeah.
Because at one point, you know, after she's sort of gotten the hang of, you know, trapping her water monster meat stuff, not meat, vegetation stuff, she gets caught in a trap. And this was, for me, his introduction was very unsettling. I know you guys kind of picked up right away that, oh, he's the guy that she needs to go back and save. I was concerned that this was the guy chasing her
Oh.
the entire time. So
Same here.
Because he was silhouetted, but we see he has a machete. That's unsettling. So
I mean, they set it up that way for us to like initially think that, because he did something which, now that I know him as the character after watching this episode, I thought was strange, that he like encaged her and encaged.
imprisoned.
Yes.
Imprisoned.
In prison. Hashtag more.
Hashtag more.
He worked her. No, that came
Yeah,
later.
well-
That way later, yeah.
Yeah, well, I think, like, all of that explanation of, like, you're still here, you're real, like, after we hear his story of, like, how if you're out there and if you're exposed for too long, you start hallucinating, you start seeing things, you start going a little bit crazy, and I think that that explained why he was doing that, because he was trying to make sure that it wasn't a hallucination, or
Is this girl a figment of my imagination,
Yeah.
Fair
or
enough.
is this because what he was saying about it at the end of the episode is that it will appear as anything
Right.
to
That
you
trick
wish
you,
it.
like this could be a trick.
it was maybe
And-
he was thinking about cute British girls, and I was
Or
like,
maybe it was as
Yeah.
simple as that's a person over there. I haven't talked to one of those in about 14 years. What do you say when you first meet? Does it start with an H? Hey,
Well,
girl.
my question is,
Hey, girl.
I think
It was 2001. He doesn't
Yeah.
have Hey Girl.
Hey, girl.
Sup?
What did people say in 2001?
Oh God, it was so
Sup?
long ago.
What's up?
I would say though.
What's up?
Right, like 2000.
They probably did say, "What's up?"
2001, an astronaut got lost on a space odyssey.
Yeah.
Little
Chasing-
on the nose.
Chasing a
right?
monolith.
Yes. Yeah. Oh my God. That didn't even click in my brain yet.
Yeah, it's really on the nose. And if it is where Thanos is, he's the mad. He's on Titan, he's on a moon of Jupiter, which is where 2001: A Space Odyssey
when they
takes place.
come back to this planet, Will could very well be a space-time baby, hanging out in the cosmos.
Yeah, he could be a weird fetus in the cosmos. Yeah,
that movie's so weird. But that is a nice little nod. But yeah, we have Will, who came with a bunch of other astronauts when the monolith was in NASA's possession, and they sent a group of explorers.
They have an answer to what they said in 2001.
What did they say in 2001?
What's up?
Yeah, what's up? Yeah.
We did that earlier.
Scary movie for all you kids out there.
And then, what is it, that Doritos commercial?
The Budweiser. Yeah.
Oh, Budweiser, you're right.
Yeah.
I won't do it. It's rude.
Also, they had the frogs.
But going back to when Will captured, oh my gosh, Simmons. I can't remember if they actually showed this, but did he capture her when she was out, or was she alive and kicking and he was dragging her? I don't remember.
She woke up in a cage.
So she was unconscious when he
fell
grabbed her.
through a trap hole.
Oh, that's right.
Yeah.
Or and landed, I guess, smack dab in the middle of his home.
Because
he came back and went and when he landed in the trap, and then he closed the door on her, and then presumably she passed out.
Okay, because I figured if she was awake through all of it, she'd be kicking and screaming, and it would have saved all that time of her being caged and hitting him for him to realize that she's real.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah.
It just seemed Simmons. Very Simmons.
The interesting thing about his story, again, not only that, is he somebody who's technologically 15 years behind her, but everybody who was with him went nuts and killed themselves, and then the last guy went nuts and tried to kill him.
Yeah.
And he had one job, Will. You had one job.
You had
Keep
one job,
everyone
Will.
alive.
Yeah.
Jeez.
With a gun.
And
Keep
this
them
was-
alive with a gun.
And
He's
this
going to
was
be in
really
so much trouble with NASA when he gets back.
Well, and this
NASA's
was
going to
really
be so angry.
horrific, too. Just the way one guy threw himself off a cliff. One guy set himself on fire.
It reminded me of stories when you hear people who go on expeditions to Mount Everest, and when they go south, and you hear stories about people just walking off cliff faces and kind of going insane because of the lack of oxygen, plus just the severe weather and just being in such a intense environment like that. So it didn't surprise me, but he blamed it on the planet. He said that it was making them go crazy.
Yeah, that it was whatever it was drove them to do these things.
Because if there's anyone who is prepared and trained to be in such an intense environment, it would be an astronaut. Mm-hmm. And these ones were not prepared or trained.
True.
They were, they
were, but just not for a death storm.
Yeah.
There was no way to train. They were going into a situation. They were going into a one-way situation that was completely unknown.
Yeah.
I really want to get to the bottom of how NASA knew that it was habitable on the other side, or if they just didn't, and they're like, well.
And
good
also
luck. What
they expected to learn if everyone they sent never came back with data or samples. I mean, it seemed like they've done it multiple times, and they didn't get anything that they wanted.
Maybe that means that somebody has come back before.
That's what I am thinking, because we have all these we saw throughout history all of these people sending people through the portal. There's no way to know it's until now. When we have the technology that we have now, there was no way to know it was a portal and not just a thing that swallows people.
Yeah.
Unless there is someone that we don't know about yet at the center of, because there was that secret society that was meeting and threw the guy in. NASA could theoretically have a little secret society ring at the top or something. Who knows who is what secret organization that might have
she
12
did pick up
members
a sword
sitting
earlier.
around, sitting at a round table making judgments about things that they know about on a wider scale.
Some sort of calendar-based...
No, Calendar Man is DC.
Oh, yeah, that's right. Yeah.
That's a different universe.
Not to get into predictions,
Zodiac.
but Jia-Ying seemed to believe that this thing was going to bring them death and destruction, and we keep going back to this idea that everybody who's gone through the monolith was a sacrifice of some sort. So maybe the whole idea behind the monolith, like whatever this entity is on this planet or the planet itself, maybe it's something that needs to be pacified, otherwise it's going to come through the portal and bring death and destruction onto the earth. Maybe. I don't know.
That's possible. I think it seems implied that whoever has been sending people back has been sending them for to study the planet, because the last person that we are now aware of that went through not the guy that we see, but we find the evidence in the graveyard.
Yeah, he's dead
now. But a star mapper. I don't know what I'm sorry, I don't know what those things are called.
It looked like exactly. A sextant or something like that.
Is that what it's called?
I think that.
I think that's it. I think you're right.
Yeah.
I think it's a sextant.
Yeah.
But it's a tool that's used to map the stars and study the stars. So it's effectively the old-timey version of
what NASA
said. So someone has been trying to study this planet for a long time. NASA is just the latest, the second latest after S.H.I.E.L.D. in a long line of people, and they figured out that it was a portal. The question is how? Who told them it was a portal?
How did until Fitz, who had the technology or the way to tell that this thing was a portal? Was it that there was sand coming out of it every time it activated? Is there like a weird plant on Earth that's like sending people back? Something like that. Like I don't know.
Maybe the same situation happened with two other people where one person got sucked in and the other person figured out how to save them, or vice versa.
Yeah.
I don't know.
History
repeated itself, and it ended up being with Simmons and Fitz this time around.
Somebody always comes out the other side really sad.
Yeah.
It's a sad portal. It just makes you teleport to a sadder you.
It's not death on the other side. It's just depression.
It's just depression. Another abstract made real.
Yeah, a manifestation of depression.
Oh, jeez. Getting dark.
And then,
at least Simmons had her companion cube in Will.
That's true.
But you have to incinerate your companion cube at one point.
If you think about it,
Well, she left him. I mean, not intentionally, but he was left in the dust.
If you think about it, if you live long enough, you have to incinerate all your companion cubes.
Is that what it is on this planet? It's just GLaDOS? Messing with portals? Is that it?
I hope so.
That would be a twist. Anyway,
no, because we saw there was cake in this episode. Simmons
there
got
was
birthday
cake in this episode.
And it was TARDIS.
It was. Yeah. The cake wasn't a lie, guys.
It was a lie because it was on a phone. It was not edible. And she wasn't even there to eat the TARDIS cake.
Our engineer says it was a lie.
It was a lie. Sorry.
Do you have more about the cake?
I don't know Doctor Who as well as you guys, but the TARDIS is a portal as well, correct?
It is.
Okay, I don't know.
It travels through portals that it makes.
Yeah. Okay.
Is the simplest way to
do you want to explain
it.
what TARDIS stands for?
Time and relative dimensions in space.
Nerds.
Yeah, Megan and I, when the cake got brought out, just looked at each other like, ah!
I also got excited.
Really
we
excited.
Understood that
Jesse, your reaction was like kept down.
You're like, yeah, I got it.
And I'm like clueless. I don't know.
Jesse was like, I understood that reference.
The chat is echoing something that I thought during the episode. Didn't you guys think that Will looked a lot like Ward?
Yes.
I thought he looked like Hunter.
When I first saw him,
he looked like Ward and Hunter had a baby.
I thought Hunter first.
God, just stay away from DeviantArt when you say those words.
Please do. Do yourself a favor. Steer clear. I can see the resemblance. I can see why a lot of people would think that.
He does have a brother that we haven't met.
How funny would that be?
That's true.
His name is not Will. I think from the chat roll, it's Thomas. Is the one we haven't met.
Yeah, he's the younger brother.
That doesn't mean that he kept his name, though.
Well, he could be Thomas William Ward. And go
Yeah.
by his middle name.
TWW.
He looks like it could just be It could just be a chance of casting, but it looks a lot like him.
Yeah.
I also thought it was funny that the reason why he was able to stay alive on this planet was because he was so willful and had strong will, and his name was Will. And I thought I was like, very clever, whoever named him that.
It's like naming Matt Damon's character in Interstellar Dr. Mann. I understand now.
He's a man.
Anyway, guys, let's take a quick break to talk to you guys about iTunes really quick. Zach, would you be able to pull up iTunes?
No,
No?
it's not working.
Okay,
today.
sorry guys, but we want to take this time to say thank you to everybody who goes to iTunes to leave a 5-star rating. We will read off the comments next time when we have better internet reception. We apologize, but it really...
Sorry, my phone, like, I have internet, but Apple, like, anytime Apple does a system update, I can't, podcast just doesn't work properly.
Yeah.
It makes it very difficult, but it really does mean the world to us when you guys take the time to rate and leave a comment. We actually got a few emails this time around. I don't know if I can pull up the emails. From some people took the time to email AfterBuzz to just say how much, to give us their theories on the show, to basically say how excited they were to watch the after show every week. And it was very touching to have that forwarded.
We got more, another person from Brazil, so at least two people from Brazil who are fans of the show, which is super awesome.
I love it. We have the most dedicated fans. At least from all the podcasts that I've done on AfterBuzz, like the fans for all those shows are good, but you guys are great. Like
we also
you
have
take the time out of your days and lives to like really make us feel great.
I feel like Mondays on the East Coast, like a bunch of businesses take a dip because there's so many people on the East Coast who stay up to watch this and then like go to bed and then have to go to work.
Well, and there are people who watch us before they go to school, or
or during
occasionally
class,
have
even
gotten in trouble watching us during class. Which
Or
don't
work.
watch us during class because you'll get in trouble. But we really, really appreciate it. It means the world to us.
Don't yell, "I want a laser finger" in the middle of your work week.
Yeah, it will get you a weird meeting with HR.
Very weird meeting.
And you guys can stall for
But,
another minute.
Sure.
But so it's genuinely the highlight of our week, and we love hearing from you guys on YouTube as well. And we want to hear your guys' crazy theories. What do you guys think is going to happen to Will next week? And since we're getting back to the regular plot next week, we also want to hear your guys' thoughts on all that too. And what was your favorite part of this week's episode? Just seeing Gemma and Will on this planet together.
And if you're an international fan, since we can't see your iTunes comments, take a screen cap and send them to us. What's the email?
It's like info@afterbuzztv.com.
Exactly.
Info
Or you
at
can tweet those to
AfterBuzzTV.com.
us too.
Or tweet them
the
to us. Yeah.
screenshots.
Oh yeah,
We've
no,
gotten a
that's
couple
always
of
fun.
those. Those are cool.
Yeah.
We got one email from Jaden McAllister sent us an email, as did Unitive Planet 14. So thank you guys. It was very, very sweet of you to take time. And they wrote us really long emails too. It was very, very sweet of you guys to take time out of your day to send us those big emails.
We'll have to come back to this.
Okay,
cool.
that's fine. Let's move on. So after Will and Gemma have come together and they kind of come to this understanding, because Gemma thinks he's just paranoid from having been here for so long, but he is convinced that death is around every corner.
Yeah.
And they have to kind of try to find a way to work together to find a way home. And basically what Gemma concludes is that she'll use her phone, or what's left of the phone battery, to power up his old equipment and use that, and as well as the distance where they both arrived on the planet, to calculate the rotation of the planet to figure out where the portal's going to pop up next.
Yeah.
So I want to say just how I know that was confusing.
It's complicated.
But
Well, no, the science doesn't check out on that, which really bothers me. Because if the portal is staying in the same spot and it's the planet that's moving, that means you have a chance that the portal will pop up when the planet's in rotation, and it'll just be in the middle of space. Like it that doesn't really follow.
Like instead of
like in the position of like I see what you're saying. Like, it'll hit the space.
Because not only is the planet rotating on an axis, but it's also rotating around
something,
presumably some celestial body.
It's like when people talk about like time travel. Like if you were a time travel and you went back in time to a time when Earth wasn't in the exact same position that it's in right now, then you could end up traveling back into the vacuum of space when Earth isn't there. So, like, that kind of bothered me, but I didn't care that much. Like, it's a fun show.
You can forgive it, and I do want to, I mean, of course she knows all these things because the screenwriters say she does, but I love that she was able to deduce everything that we had learned about this place just being on her own and being observant. She was able to determine that people were being sent as sacrifices. She was able to determine that the portal was tied to lunar rotation. She was able to determine so much just by keeping her mind active and focused.
Yeah.
I mean, it helps that that's literally all she has to think about all day.
Is sciencing things.
Sciencing things or Will.
Yeah.
Well.
She's got two things to do.
He's cute.
Working well. Let's talk about this because we all had different opinions on this scene where, you know, Simmons has a breakdown after coming face to face with death. And basically Will says, you know, she brought him hope, and they end up kind of becoming a couple, and they totally hook up. And
they're not kind of a couple.
Yeah,
They're together.
Their beds are close together.
I mean, they have no choice but to be together. But I wonder if, like,
they do have a choice.
It was only 3 months.
and it's like,
evolutionarily speaking, if you're the last two people on a planet, it's a propensity to want to get together. It doesn't necessarily mean you're a couple.
And it doesn't necessarily mean that you're meant to be together either. It's just you're both there and you're stranded. Things are going to happen. Feelings, emotions run high.
I know that, I don't know if all of you or some of you, when we were watching, weren't rooting for that to happen, or you thought it was strange, but I was like, I can't blame the two of them. I mean, they don't know if they're going to get out alive, no matter how hard they're trying. They don't know if they're going to get in contact with Fitz, or if they're going to make this thing work, or if it actually works. So why not? I mean, I get it.
Because you don't like the other person. I don't know why.
I like him though.
Yeah, exactly.
Because he's a nice guy. He's very caring. Like, he's not maybe Gemma. Like, he doesn't necessarily match with Gemma perfectly, but he's a perfectly nice, attractive man. So there's no reason not to.
But they also made a really good team, and as much as he doubted, like, what she was saying in the beginning, he gave her a chance, and like you said earlier, they gave each other hope, and like, they both kind of, well, especially Gemma hit this low before he was like, all right, let's test out what you're thinking.
I like it because I am not very into Fitz and Simmons having a romantic relationship. I think it's lazy writing, and I wouldn't enjoy that. It's stereotypical, and it's something that I feel like I see too much. To me, it's the same as like seeing a show where it's like, oh no, there's this really attractive guy and this really attractive girl, but like the guy won't say anything to her, and it's like, I wonder if these two really attractive people will get together.
Gonna get together.
And they always do. It's lazy to me. I know they've put a lot of groundwork into it, and that over the years they've really extended their relationship. But I think that they can have a more complicated relationship that would be just as satisfying. And I think the show could really like help show that you can have a very in-depth and loving relationship without it being a romantic one.
Well, here's the thing. I mean, for me, like, I was like...
Zach had to step away from the television for
Zach
a moment,
was upset.
guys.
I mean, my bladder was upset. But it was conveniently timing because it made my exit very dramatic.
It was very dramatic. He had a scarf
I have to take a walk.
whipped around his neck.
Good day.
Yeah.
But see, here's the thing. Like, I guess for me, I just connected so much with Fitz in the storyline, in part just because of like things like I've lived that specific like situation enough times in my life that I very much feel for Fitz in there, and like, I think I'm on your side in the sense of long term. I don't see Fitz and Simmons being necessarily a couple. Like, if the show goes like 7-8 years, I don't know that they will necessarily stay together. But I think that they need to get together at some point and let that relationship work itself out, because to say, like, if you don't like that sort of classic stereotypical storyline between Fitz and Simmons, I think you have more of an opportunity to combat that by getting them into a situation, getting them together, and then having them fall out of it, than just, oh, well, it didn't work out. She met some other guy when she got into another situation.
Yeah, sure.
So I want to see them get together, and my heart broke for Fitz, and the look on his face at the end, like his determination to help in spite of that, is just more to the strength of him as a person, as a character. But also you could see that just the tiniest little like twitch in his look of like, he's like, I'm gonna help because I love you, but that this is the worst.
It reminded me of like in like movies and like thing where it's like the girl's dating like the jock and like the nerdy best friend, and he's like, yeah, I'll help you with your homework, sure. Like, yeah, I'll do it. Just like, I know you're with that guy, but I'll just help you with your homework, sure.
Oh, it's way more complicated.
I didn't say it was the same. I said it reminded me of that. Yes.
For sure. I was gonna say, make the girl the bad guy in this scenario.
No, not at all. No, for sure, Simmons is not the bad guy.
No, and
she doesn't owe herself to anyone.
No, not at all. I mean,
I hope I didn't imply that anyway.
Not at all. And I see where you're saying, like, I also feel really bad for Fitz, because so far, for him, it's been no good deed goes unpunished, and like he's saved Gemma plenty of times already, and like he was brain dead not brain dead, but damaged for a while. Brain damaged for a while. And then now this, like, he saved Simmons, like he actually risked his life to save her. He got her, and now he realizes that she wants to go back. It's like, he can't win, but he is going to continue to be the same Fitz that he is to her, regardless of what's happening.
He put himself and others in massive harm's way.
Mortal peril.
So he's really a villain.
He brought
he's being selfish.
And maybe in a few ways,
Who knows, if Gemma ends up dying, he might go mad scientist on everybody.
Yeah, he could become
my god, evil Fitz would be... I don't want Fitz to go evil, but oh my god, that would be so good.
In another universe, like if they were to travel to an alternate timeline,
and
or
evil
like
Fitz,
the
where
multiverse,
like Gemma dies and we see what that would do to Fitz, that would be really cool.
That would be fascinating. But
well, this is an interesting point just on before we move off of Will.
Sure.
People are saying in the chat roll, what if Will is not real? What if Will is the planet? If you think of the planet as a living thing, there's a lot of talk about it being imaginary and showing you things that you want to see. What if he is created by the planet for nefarious purpose number 3?
And he doesn't know it. Like he's just a projection of the planet, or he doesn't know it's not real.
Would that be Gemma and the hologram?
That would be truly outrageous, Zach. Truly outrageous.
I would agree. I would agree with that. I was thinking, like, what if Will isn't real and it's just her projecting and like the Earth kind of tricking her, except for the fact that we get that scene where Will sees the sun and then contemplates suicide and then realizes that he doesn't have a bullet left in the gun.
That's a good point.
And I feel like that if it was true that Will wasn't real, then that scene was only shown to us to trick us, which would be super annoying.
Which it sounds like Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. is not necessarily above doing.
That's
given a lot of the speculation about Andrew and everything like that.
If he is a figment of her imagination or a projection of the planet, or for Gemma, then good casting, because he looks like all the main men in the show. So it would make sense for him to be a combination of everyone that she knows, like all the men that she knows.
I still say, like, they wouldn't show us that scene where he contemplated suicide and like
True,
saw
no,
the sun.
I agree.
If he's a figment of her imagination, you're right. Yeah. But if he is a manifestation of the planet,
or a creation, and he doesn't know he's not real,
either doesn't know it, or we don't know what the planet's true motivation is.
Yes.
Like, if he is the manifestation of the planet, or the consciousness of the planet, like, put into, like, a body for a moment, he could still be going through whatever emotions.
For sure.
He could very well believe that story that he told her. Like, he could very well be a not real entity, but with false memories.
How do you explain all his equipment and all his
Well,
machinery
there could have been
underground?
NASA still could have sent stuff.
Yeah,
And it's like,
they still
That's
could have
true.
sent
that means-
astronauts.
That means Simmons had sex with a planet.
I mean, how many people can say that they scored with an alien planet?
Not that many.
No, but I will say something along the lines of that theory is if that is the case, if he is just kind of a creation of the planet or a manifestation of, some aspect of the planet, to what end? And to that, I would postulate that it would be to get a permanent or larger portal opened, or to bring
To
more
get to
people to
Earth.
the planet, or to straight up be able to travel to Earth.
Yeah.
And that's, again, I don't necessarily think that's the case. I don't think this guy is a manifestation of the planet, but that's something to think about.
Yeah.
If, something to keep in, I guess, in the back of your mind.
Yeah, that's an interesting theory. I appreciate
Actually,
it.
thinking about the naming of the astronauts, I'm guessing that Will's last name is Eisner, just because all of the astronauts were named after famous comic book people. So
I didn't write down the first one. Brubaker was like, boom.
Austin, Brubaker, and Taylor. So it's all comic book people. So I'm gonna say Will's last name is Eisner, and they're all just named after famous comic book people.
Unless it's Ward.
Unless it's Ward.
Maybe. We'll see. So we do have this really beautiful scene where they decide to go and watch the one and only sunrise that they will have seen the entire time that they've been here.
Yeah.
It's only going to last a few minutes. And that's when it comes back. And as we mentioned before, instead of manifesting itself as a silhouette or a smoke monster, it instead appears as an astronaut, presumably to try to trick her that it's some people from NASA that have come to rescue him.
It looked like a bloody astronaut. Like there was something on his.
There was some sort of pattern
his
on the
spacesuit.
spacesuit. Yeah.
Yeah.
It looked like
It looked like religious imagery almost. Like
I
maybe
mean,
I'm
Kree.
mistaken
I
on
mean, Kree is the big implication here.
Yeah.
We still know that the monolith has something. Here's the big thing we haven't even talked about. The monolith is said to have something to do with the Inhumans.
Yes.
It is used to kill the Inhumans. Is death here an Inhuman of some kind? If the crazy implication that the planet is an
alive,
Inhuman.
yeah.
That's like the wild theory. It seems
Yeah.
extreme, but
Weirder
Inhuman.
things.
It's the Inhuman season.
Yeah.
Yeah. And that's why I kept going back to Jiaying at the beginning. Yeah.
The biggest member of the Secret Warriors.
Yeah,
It's a planet.
It's a planet. Power of mass.
and gravity.
Yeah, I mean, that's the thing is like, or did the portal exist and the Kree knew it just took you to this death planet and then used that for the Inhumans? Did one come before the other? Was it specifically engineered to kill Inhumans, or was it like the Kree like, yeah, we got this crazy death portal, let's just use it on the Inhumans?
Yeah,
Like,
that big
true.
mistake that we made. Let's just send this down here and it'll take care of it.
Yeah.
Or is this just because they say that it used to be a Garden of Eden? It's very possible that this planet, this moon, was some kind of like military base for the Kree.
Yeah.
So the idea was, as soon as an Inhuman, or as soon as whatever the Inhumans or whatever the Kree are making, wherever they go, this portal is there to bring them to this moon as soon as they are ready to be powerful enough. Rather than put them on a spaceship, you just teleport them through this thing.
It's also possible that this was meant to be a sort of, if it was a Garden of Eden, it was meant to be a peaceful solution. Like, hey, we'll remove them from Earth so they're not a danger to everybody, and we'll put them on this peaceful planet. And then whatever it is came to this planet and killed it.
Oh.
Death.
Yeah, it
Lady
could very
Death.
well be that Lady Death
Macbeth.
Lady Macbeth came to this planet. Although we gotta be careful about saying Lady Death, that's another comic book character.
That's true.
But yeah, so all interesting things. So yeah, Fitz is in a heartbreaking situation. Simmons is in a heartbreaking situation. Will is in a heartbreaking situation. Everything about this episode was absolutely heartbreaking and awesome. We should probably move into getting back to our normal storylines and talking about predictions for next week specifically.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There it is. Yes.
And now, your AfterBuzz
Light show.
Yes, we get the light show.
My favorite. So we hit the ground running again next week, and the first thing the stupid preview says is the death of her ex brings Agent May back to life. You suck, promo guy.
I still don't think
Yeah,
he's
I
dead.
don't think he's dead either.
I don't.
I think it's like a good promo to cut, but
Yeah,
like,
no.
but like I don't think that guy is paid by Marvel.
Yeah,
So,
no.
like,
I mean, the promo is meant to continue the belief that he's dead.
Yes.
I maintain that I don't think he's dead at all.
Nobody, no death.
But there's no reason they wouldn't continue to play that card because
Yeah.
that's what they want us to think is real.
Yeah. Well, we do
Until
see
Andrew it turns out to be Lash.
we do see Bobby's back in action though.
Yeah.
We get some Bobby.
She's like training again.
Yeah.
Like
That's
hardcore though.
exciting that she's back out in the field, but I'm wondering if it's not a little too soon.
I was thinking that too. There is going to be something that might happen that'll set her out of commission for a while again,
That I feel
which
like
could be the setup for the show.
I
Their spin-off.
I feel
That's
like
not coming for a while now.
Yeah, I
That's
feel like
true.
they're moving so fast, and you came back too soon and you've got to wait is like a delay tactic that a lot of TV shows use when they're like, oh, we don't want to push the plot this far yet, let's keep this character out of commission again. Because the show has been moving so incredibly fast, I feel like they don't need to use that. They're just like every episode has been giant leaps of plot and information. And it's like keeping Bobby out of it is like more of a delay tactic to keep her back instead of like moving the story forward, which is it looks like Bobby, May, and Hunter are making a squad to kill Ward.
Although I still maintain that May is going to have a lot of issues with Hunter because, again, he did make the decision
For sure, yes.
to essentially put her, ex-husband on the chopping block.
That'll
Yeah.
definitely
Like, he
cause
totally-
a rift.
yeah.
But I also think, again, that Andrew's not dead, but he's also not Andrew anymore. Like, he's going to be introduced to us as someone who's, like, evil or against S.H.I.E.L.D. for some reason.
Like, it turns out that he staged
that
his
he's Lash.
death.
No, I'm just kidding.
Like, he staged his death because he's been with Hydra this whole time.
A lot of people think Andrew is Lash.
Yeah.
They have a
Why, guys?
They-
he's been very supportive of every inhuman person that he's come across to
It's a
help.
guy's.
Yeah, I was very much joking when I don't
Yeah.
actually think he's Lash.
There are a lot of people that are very pro Andrew being Lash.
And
Yeah,
go ahead.
I was gonna say that doesn't mean to say that I don't think he could be an Inhuman.
yeah.
I don't think it adds up for him to be Lash.
It does not make
agree.
sense.
For me, it doesn't make sense, but I think a lot of people are latching onto that because
They're
they would
lashing onto
rather they would rather latch onto that than accept the idea that thank you than accept the idea that he might be dead.
Yeah, sure.
Agents
So.
of Puns.
Thank
No,
you,
that's
Alexis.
supposed to be celebratory.
But go ahead.
Going back to the whole Gemma Fitz plotline, because we ended with them, obviously. I feel like if Will is a real person and they do get him and she does find him and bring him back to Earth, he's going to stick around for a while. It's going to cause a rift again between Fitz and Simmons. Maybe he's going to leave. Like, it's definitely going to prolong the possibility of them getting together. And I think maybe if Will comes back, Fitz is like, that's it, I'm done. That's the last thing I'm doing. I keep getting my heart broken. I can't handle this. Like, it'll be hard for him to separate that personal part of his life with his job, and he might just book it.
I think we're getting a slow burn on Will. I feel like we're gonna go back to like hunting Hydra and Inhumans and stuff like that. But I think
in the background they're gonna be running tests on him and like trying to learn, like, has his biology changed? Like, my question for him, for Will, is like, how old are you really? Because he's been there for 15 years or 14 years.
Yeah, how old was he in 2001?
How old was he in 2001? Was he the same age as he looks now? And like,
he
on
doesn't
Earth time, he's like 50.
He doesn't look
aged remarkably well.
Yeah, he doesn't look 40.
That's what I'm saying. And as an astronaut, I can't imagine him being a 22-year-old astronaut.
Well, here's the thing. He's not getting any sun, which is good for your skin.
No UV,
I feel like he's not eating very well, though.
Well, we don't know. We don't know what's happening.
He's under a lot of stress.
But also the gravity is stronger, so he's building up muscle.
Like,
but would it also cause your skin to sag?
It would cause your skin to sag.
No, but it's a fair point. They said it 14 years in the past. That's a long time. They had full choice over when that was.
Yeah.
Like, close enough to be able to, like, know what the internet was and everything, but far enough away so that, like, a smartphone is the craziest thing ever.
Weird.
Yeah.
I'm going to go ahead and say that I don't think Will is a projection or a manifestation of the planet, but I do think that when they open up the portal and bring him back, I don't think he's the only thing coming back through.
Sure.
I feel like whatever it is on this planet is going to follow them, and I'm really excited to see that. I want that. Is that weird to be rooting for whatever
Give me the
horrible
action.
force of death on this planet coming to our planet?
Let's
is that
see
wrong to root for?
No, I want to see it.
All right. Does anybody have any other thoughts or predictions about the show this week, or just any other?
We got it all out.
Yeah, I think we got it.
Yeah, guys, thank you so much. Again, this was an emotional roller coaster ride. Thank you guys for watching and discussing with us. Thank you to everybody on the hashtag and the live chat. Be sure to let us know throughout the week. Be sure to leave comments, and we want to know your guys' predictions. We want to know what you guys thought about this week's episode.
Yep.
Jesse Klein, where can the people find you?
Everyone, you can find me on Twitter at JessKlein1. That's JessKlein, the number 1. And if you're in the Los Angeles area, you can see me doing live comedy with Haymaker or DJ Fawcett or whoever I'm doing comedy with at the time.
You guys can follow me on Twitter at @ZachWilson, and also here at AfterBuzz on a whole bunch of shows. This week we're doing the Sleepy Hollow Bones crossover.
So weird.
I don't understand it. I don't get it. We're gonna talk about it, so join us.
Hey guys, thank you for watching. You can find me on Twitter, Instagram, and Snapchat for some behind-the-scenes stuff I post once in a while for Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. at Joyce Ajouri, and I also do the Sunday night podcast for The Walking Dead.
So, speaking of like shows breaking your heart, Walking Dead this week, man. Guys, I'm Megan. You guys can follow me on Twitter and Instagram at TheMenguin, the Menguin. Also, I write articles for the Movie Chick. That's Chick with 2 Ks. Be sure to check those out, and be sure to also check out the Movie Chick news show every Tuesday. We skipped this week, but we'll be back next week. So thank you guys so much for tuning in this week. We will see you all next time.
Bye.
From executive producers Maria Menounos, Kevin Undergaro, Phil Svitek, and the entire AfterBuzz TV staff, we would like to thank you for listening to the AfterBuzz TV network. To watch or listen to other after shows and post comments or questions, be sure to visit AfterBuzzTV.com. I'm Sir Richard Wentworth, and this has been a presentation of AfterBuzz TV.
Buzz you later!
The views expressed herein are those of the hosts only and do not necessarily reflect the views of AfterBuzz TV or its owners or principals.